Okay, so you're new to investing and you want to know a couple of basic things that you can do. Well, let's take for example the company Naspers. Now, Naspers you will find obviously on your Easy Equities app. This is now the desktop version, and you would obviously go to Invest Now when you want to invest in a company. So what you would do is you'd click on the Invest Now, and you would now find your tabs over here. Here are your equities where you would search. Obviously at the moment it's highlighting my watch list, but you have equities, which is your stocks. You have ETFs, which is your exchange traded funds, ETNs, exchange traded notes, and so on, and crypto, and so on and so on and so on. If you wanted to look for different types of categories, you would find baskets and bundles and so on. Now, if we click on equities, you now have all of them. Then you have your top 40. If you wanted to click there, this is Thrive. These are companies that I suppose are moving upwards. I've never really looked at that. Then you have all your categories over here, which you can then search for a company if you wanted to look per category. Let's say mining or building or chemicals, banks, so on and so on. However, the company, if you know the company's name, you can just type it in the search box. Here we go. Here is Naspers, and you can click on Naspers. So now you will be directed to this page, and you will get a basic graph over here. This is on a 1 month time scale. There's 3 months, 6 months, 1 year maximum. So on the 1 month time scale, you can see that it's moved almost 10% down. All right, now that is taking it from here to here. All right, and you can see that it's done some drastic drops. In fact, all the way down here, this is a far bigger percentage than 10% that it's dropped. It has recovered of late. Okay, so if you have to take it to the 3 month scale, it'll calculate it like that, and you can see it started over here and dropped all the way down to there. So we're looking at a 22% drop. 6 months, let's take a look. You can see from a level of 2,400 Rand a share roughly, all the way down to 1,845. Now obviously if you'd bought this somewhere over here and you'd gone all the way down here, you're looking at 1,557 Rand a share, which is a drastic drop. Let's take it 1 year. You can see it's also dropped quite a bit, and then your maximum, you can see over the maximum period from where it started to where it's ended, it's a 74% jump. However, at some point this was all the way up here 3,500, and over here it was 3,700, which is far more than a 74% increase. So you can now take a look at these different figures over here. This is selling it, buying it, and the last price. This is obviously 15 minutes delayed. The market is currently closed because this is Monday morning, and we're talking Monday morning, very early in the morning, and it's a public holiday today. So how this works is selling at is if you are owning shares and you want to sell, this is the price you will get per share if you sell the market. This is buying at. So if you are buying shares, you are going to pay this amount. So you can see there's actually currently quite a huge spread between the two. We call it a spread or margin between the selling at and the buying at price. So this is usually due to the volatility of the market, and it is the highest price that a buyer is willing to pay for your shares, and this is the lowest price that the market is willing to give if you are buying the shares, because essentially what you're doing when you're trading, it's buyers buying from sellers or sellers selling to buyers. So that's actually what is happening. That's why it's called trading. All right. So that's just some basics of what happens here. So sometimes you might see, like for instance here it says 1845 is the last price. However, you are paying 1848, so it's 3 Rand roughly more than the quoted price. All right, and that is the margin that you are going to be paying above the asking or above the quoted price, let's say. So you would then just put in the amount of money you want to buy. You can put any amount here from, I think, R1, and you will get obviously part shares because the share is 1,848 Rand. So if you had to pay, ask for R1, you get what's called a fractional share, which is actually a CFD if you read through the terms and conditions. So you don't have to worry too much about that. You're able to buy fractional shares, so you can buy any value you would like here, and it would work just as if you'd bought part of the share. If you could buy one whole share, of course, and then you have obviously your full rights. You would earn dividends on fractional shares. Obviously, it's not very much, and that depends on the company as well, whether they actually declare or not. So that's just the basics of how to navigate the Easy Equities page if you want to invest, and what you would basically look like or look at, let's say, when it comes to price and price action and price history, and how you would now read these over here. Now, if you want to go a little bit further into detail about how a beginner investor would now take a look at a company, there are some resources that are available to you. First of all, now, if you're assessing a company, there's two things that you can think of. One is fundamental approach. So this is now fundamental research. And what is fundamental research? That is now looking at the financials of a company, looking at the news history, and looking at the SENS. SENS is Stock Exchange News Service. It is any type of news or corporate action or that is required by law by the JSE for a company to disclose. And now, where would you find this information? Well, first of all, you could go to Yahoo Finance. So this is the Yahoo Finance page. You can just type it up and you'll get to a page similar to this, and you would then once again just type in the name of the company. There's no such company as Naspers. Okay, Naspers. Now be careful. You should choose .jo, which is now Johannesburg, and you'll see here JNB. Don't choose these. These are other stock exchanges. So go to Joburg for JSE, and you click on it there. All right. So here we have a basics page for Naspers Johannesburg. You have a summary page over here. So you've got a little basic chart, just like the Easy Equities one. You have your previous close price and previous open price. Now, when you're reading these, you'll see it's 176,855.00. So these are always in ZAC, which is South African cents. All right. So this is the price here, 1,845.02. All right. That's the last quoted price. And you can see the open price, the bid, and the asking price. Okay, so that's basically like selling at and buying at. And then you have your range, which is good to know. Then you know that the price, how the price has moved in the recent period. Then you've got a year range, 52 week, and you can see where it ranged from. You can see the price was really high at some stage compared to now. It was at 1,766, and you can read this as 1,845.02. Okay, then you have your volume. Now, volume is very important. What volume is the amount of trades that has been happening. Now you can see there's quite a huge amount of trades that happen, but this is common for a company like Naspers. Other companies, your small cap companies and lesser known or lesser traded companies, you might have some, maybe like 1,000 something trades. So what happens is that moves the price a lot. It increases volatility, so that price will whip from high to low over and over again. Also, the amount of volume determines the spread between your bid and ask. In other words, you're buying at and selling at price. So you might have in the smaller cap companies a selling at price that is at a certain level, and the buying at price is way off that, and also way off the quoted price as well. So you always got to pay attention to that, and that's why a lot of traders and investors kind of stay away a little bit from your lesser traded companies, because the spread is so huge. With your bigger companies, especially the big banks and so on, mines and these types of companies that are heavily traded, there's a large volume. The spread is a lot less because there's a lot of buyers and sellers all interacting at the same time, which means the price doesn't really fluctuate that much. It moves a lot slower, which means it's a lot easier to kind of predict what's going to happen, and just to with the smaller cap companies, you don't know what's going to happen. You might have a volume of 1,800 trades, and then the next day there's sort of 200 and something thousand trades, and it pushes the price either through the roof or drops it down. So it makes investors kind of wary. Right, so we can see what the average volume is. It's about 803,000. So you can see there's a huge amount above average in the last period, and that is what's made the price move so much. And that is because there's been a recent drop in price, as we saw with the ET equities. Now, the same thing here, you can choose different time scales over here, and let's just try one. Let's just say the last year. Now you can see it's now changed to red, and you can see over the last year it's dropped down. And here at the bottom you can see a histogram, which is now your trade volumes. All right, then you've got some basic things you can look at here. There's your market cap. Now this is in billions, so this is a large cap, typically between or let's say under 1 billion market cap is what you would call small cap. Between 1 and 10 billion is mid cap, and above 10 billion is large cap. I'm not quite sure what beta means. Then you have your PE ratio, which is your price to equity ratio, and you can see this is quite large. A good PE ratio is around 15. Above that is typically called overpriced, and below that, or let's say between 1 and 15 is decent, and below that is really very underpriced. This is earnings per share and dividend yield and so on and so on. So now if you want to go more into detail about this company using Yahoo Finance, you can go to the financials and you just click over here, and your financials will come up, and the first thing you'll find is the income statement, which you can then go through. I'm not going to go in detail through this in this video. I'll go through this type of thing in a different video, just highlighting more in detail how you would read an income statement, but this is more to show you where you can find this information. Here's the information, and then you have your balance sheet, which you just click on the tab there, and you have Naspers' balance sheet over here. You can go through that. Then you've got your cash flow. Typically your cash flow is what most people want to look at, is does a company have cash? And cash is really important in terms of resilience and in terms of growth, and so this is where you would now find this information over here. Now, when you're doing fundamental research, another resource that you can use, which is really handy, I use it, is the MoneyWeb resource or app, let's say. This is a subscriber company. You have to subscribe to it for the full package. It's not a lot of money in retrospect. It's 63 Rand a month. I do subscribe to them because I find a lot of value there. However, you don't need to. You will find some basic information on companies on MoneyWeb, and there are daily podcasts that are made available to non-subscribers, so you can listen to the podcast, and it gives a lot of information about different companies, the latest moves, and latest big news. So let's say we want to look at Naspers. You could just search up the company over here. Right, there we go. Here's Naspers, and you click on that. And what's good is you can find all that basic information here again. The current quoted price, open and close, volume, all the same stuff you saw on Yahoo Finance. And here is a basic little graph on what's the latest here. You can click on different time frames here as well. So let's say, for instance, you want to click on a year. There you'll see the same graph. So you see this is all the same sort of information over here. And here are your basic summary again. Price to earnings. Here's now different 11.19, which is actually quite, that's your forward PE, sorry. And then your current PE ratio is 13.06. So this is now different to Yahoo Finance, but now this is obviously worked out by the two different analysts a bit differently. But what I would really like to show you over here is this resource over here, which is the latest news. Now, any of the articles that they have published which speak about Naspers in any way will come up over here. So you can click on an article, for instance, and you'll even see the little ticker over here and the current quoted price. This is live, and you can see here's your information over here. And this is a podcast by Fifi Peters. She's very good. She's on SAFM, and you can click that and you can listen to it, and you'll find some type of relevance about Naspers and Prosus, which are both very closely linked because Prosus is run or invested in by Naspers. Alright, so you will find that information there. Let's just go back one. And there are more news stories over here. So you can also take a look at the company peers. This is very interesting. You can see what is the market share of the company. Now, market share means how much competitive edge a company has versus their peers. Here are the peers over here. This is Prosus, PVT, Sebata, and so on. All right, and then you've got your basics here of your income statement. You can read through that, balance sheet, and other information. Now here is where you would find SENS, right? Stock Exchange News Service. So this is the stuff that is required by law, by the JSE, for companies to disclose. And let's take it, for instance, one of these. You can open it, and this is what it looks like. You've got your ticker price over there, and then it has your dealings and securities. So any type of dealings and securities by a corporate member of the company, whether they buy or sell shares or do any type of corporate action, they have to disclose it via the SENS network. And here you would now find, for instance, dealings and securities. In compliance with JSE listing requirements, the following information is disclosed. And then you can find that, and you can see there was a transaction on the 1st of March, number of shares, 2,497 shares, and so on and so on. So you can read through these types of things, and you can get an idea of the latest company dealings. So here's a whole list of them, and if you wanted to know what does Naspers do, well, here is a little summary of what Naspers does. So it gives a basic summary of who they are, and you even have a link to the investor relations page, and this is actually quite good as well. If you click on it, you will open not one of those. I'm not interested in that. But if you had to go to sorry, I should have gone here. So if I click on here, it will take you to your Naspers website, and you will have investor relations. Every company that is listed on the JSE has to have an investor relations page, and you can find all the information that they would now publish themselves on, that you as a trader or investor would find important. So there's your results, there's financial results, and so on and so on. Like I say, every listed company must have an investor relations page, just so that you can be kept abreast of what is happening. So another resource you can look at is Google Finance. I haven't really looked too much into Google, but let's take a look what it looks like. So a similar type of thing. So you can find a little graph here with your time frames, and you've got your basic summary information over here as well. Same type of thing. A little summary of who the company is and the latest news over here. So there is a lot of information when it comes to financial fundamental research, let's say, on a company. You can do this for obviously any company that you would like to invest in. And like I say, I will make a video at a later stage going a bit more in detail about how you can read these financial statements and so on. Now, the other side is, let's say, the opposite side of assessing a company when it comes to fundamentals is now technicals, and this is now what we call TA, or technical analysis, and this is chart reading. So if you're more interested in chart reading, this is now for you. So I use TradeView. Now TradeView has been a very good resource for me. This is a free version that I'm busy using. There is of course a paid version, which you can use a lot more indicators. So I'm going to now just be on their charts page over here, and what's cool is that you can just start typing. You don't have to look for a search tab. You can just start typing directly onto the chart and you'll be able to find your company. So here is now Naspers. Now I'm going to make a more in detail video on how to navigate TradeView to look at charts, but this is where you would now look at price action in a bit more detail. So you can zoom in and zoom out as you like. You can just go onto the side here to change your scaling. Here you can go to the bottom and you can just scroll with your mouse like this, and changes the scaling over here, compresses it a bit like this, and you can grab and you can move it around as you like. You can move it right up like that or down and so forth. This is a not too bad view. I prefer that you can see the candles a bit easier. I will also do, like I say, a video a bit more in detail of how to analyze this chart action. This is now on the 5-year scale. I always use the 5-year scale because I like to look at the bigger moves. Other people prefer smaller time frames, shorter time frames. But this is now each candle over here, we call it a candle. It represents 1 week in the market, price action over 1 week. So there's 1 week, there's the previous week, and so on. And the easiest way to see, if I just line this over here, at the bottom I can see the date. Alright, so there, this is the trading week that started 14 March. Obviously the next one hasn't started yet. You go one back, there's starting 7 March, and so on and so on. So you can check the date of each trading week very easily at the bottom over here. You can see the current price over here is 1,845, and you can see it over here as well. Alright, 1,845 and 1 cent is ZAC, South African cents. So you just got to imagine a little comma over there, or decimal point. So you can see the volume up at the top here, and this is per candle. You can see how it changed. You can also just see it here at the bottom. Here are my indicators that I use. You can see their values as I scroll over the time frames, and you can see if you were now using this to trade the current spread. All right, there's your spread, and there's your buying or selling it and buying it. And then you've got your information here for opening price, high, low, and close, and your move for the week. All right. So that's just the basics of how you would now analyze this price action. Now I can zoom all the way out. Let's go like this, and you can see the entire history of the trading action, like so. You can see it goes all the way back to 2003, and you can see that this price started all the way down here. It went really high, came all the way back down to here, and then traded even higher, and as of late has been declining quite a bit and now sort of consolidating a little bit over here. We call it consolidation if there's been a recent price move, and then now it's been sort of sitting at the same price of late. So I'm going to be doing some videos on some of these companies a little bit more in depth, but this is more just for if you're a beginner and you have no idea how to analyze any type of company. This is just the basics. Obviously you can go a lot further in detail, but this is how you as a beginner would now approach analyzing a company and deciding whether you would like to buy shares in it or not. So I'm also going to do another video on how to keep buying a company and how you would now approach buying a company, and just so that you know, for video length purposes, I don't want to go into too much detail in this video. This was just to more show the resources that you have available to you when deciding whether to invest or not. So if you enjoyed this video, please just hit the like button, and please subscribe for more content, and you can hit the notifications button if you want to be kept up to date with the latest videos that I put out. Happy investing and good luck.